حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين. As we are approaching the last few days of Ramadan, and inshallah we will have the speeches for the next 2 days after this, and the topic, obviously, we knew that we won't be able to complete it in the month of Ramadan because of the fact that it is a very extended topic and a subject, which is the life of the Prophet. It is a life that has been studied, researched, and analyzed in detail because of the fact that the message of Allah, the religion of Islam, is within and inside the life of the Prophet. The Islam that we have, our practices, our faith, our beliefs, all of them are from the Prophet and from the life of the Prophet. Now, we extend that to the life of Ma'sumin, which is the life of the Prophet and Ahlul Bayt. All of their lives. Islam is within their lives, and by studying their lives, we know what Islam is. And hence, Islam is not just a theory. It is actually a faith that is embodied in practice. And hence, it can only be understood like that. That's why, alhamdulillah, we had the chance in this month, and Allah has given us the tawfiq and the blessing to speak about this subject and to shed some light on it. And we had a chance of learning. And we thank Allah for that and ask Him to provide us more opportunities like this so that we are able to learn more. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. At the beginning, when the revelation was given to the Prophet and the mission was given to the Prophet, and he now began to promote the faith that Allah has given him, the teachings that Allah has given him. So at first you see the order was to carry on the duty of propagating the faith in secrecy. To do it in a way that it's not public. And the reason for this really is because of the fact that even though no matter as we went through the 25 speeches of seeing how Allah has prepared the grounds for the coming of the Prophet, still the people are not ready to listen to the message openly. And we will see that by the end of this speech and in the next few speeches. How people are not ready. How the people are not ready for this. So when we look at this fact, then we see that why the Prophet first said, we are going to propagate Islam in secrecy. What does that mean? He says, don't go out to the people that you don't know and speak about Islam. Don't go randomly knocking on people's doors and say that, hey, listen, Islam is this. Don't stand on the intersection of streets and start handing out flyers. Right? Don't appear before the people with a new faith that they are not prepared to accept yet. So, Ya Rasulullah, what should we do then? I mean, yes, I became a Muslim. Imam Ali saying, I became a Muslim. Khadija saying, I accepted you. Zayd is saying, I accepted you. What should we do now? So the Prophet, in other words, Allah is telling the Prophet that only go to people whose mindset and whose ideology and whose thinking and whose way of life you already know, who are close to you, who are able to understand what you're saying, and people who are already prepared because they stand up against the wrong that's happening in the society. When you look at the wrong that's happening in the society right now, how many people are speaking out against it? Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Some of the ladies, obviously, it can be useful for you also. Right? My friends, brothers and sisters, really, when children make noise, right, it's not a problem. Because they're children, right? They don't know better. And that's fine. They're amongst this enlightened gathering where we are speaking about the teachings of Ahlul Bayt. But when adults, are going to act like children, then it's a problem, right? So the issue is that, we need to all learn from the teachings of Allah and Ahlul Bayt. And we're in need of that. This is not just a wish, it's a need. And we'll recognize this need after we die. How much was this a need? More than the things that are necessary in life. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So the order of tabligh was given to do it secretly, my friends. Now when we look at that, and that stage of the Prophet's life, and in our life right now, we see ourselves in the same situation that the Prophet found himself in. You see that the place where we live, the country that we live in, the region that we live in, you see that the majority of the people do not understand the way of Tawheed, do not know the principles of Islam. They don't know what the law, the Sharia is. To them, Sharia is a barbaric law that is made by, sand Negroes, in the desert. And they brought it here in this modern world. And when you tell them, this is against the Sharia, they laugh in your face. And the reason they laugh in your face, because they really don't understand. What are the laws? What are the ways? What is the thinking of it? So first of all, we need to now start to really learn from this history of the Prophet, where he said, go to the people who you see are, you can say intellectuals, people who are thinking out loud, analyzing the society, and oppose the wrongs that are happening in the society. Go to those people and give them the message of Islam. Because there are people in every society who, when they see wrong happening, they stand against it. They say, we don't like what's going on. This is wrong what's going on. They came to that conclusion out of logical deductions. And such are the people that you approach. If you know them, go there, approach them, become friends with them. We saw that right away as the message of Islam came, the first person to be a propagator of Islam, to be a da'i, meaning an inviter toward Islam, was the wife of the Prophet, Bibi Khadija. In fact, she made herself a pitch line, a pitch. What's she going to pitch to the people? Right? To the people that she knew. She went there, she spoke to them, and she raised certain questions by which they understood what she was saying is the truth, and what her husband is saying is the truth, and that he's really a prophet. We went through that yesterday. How she was the first one to propagate Islam openly to the people, and how it's done. So that's why you see it's necessary that we understand right now in our days that we are living in, how to approach others, bring them in. Because really looking at it, do we have a critical mass of believers? Even the believers that we have, and I'm talking about Shias, you have such wide spectrum of ideologies amongst them. Some people believe this, some people believe that, some people believe in this way, some people believe in that way. Why aren't we together? Why isn't there that unity in thought? I'm not saying all of us go to one masjid or one center. I'm saying at least have certain things that are founded in the teachings of Ahlul Bayt. Stick to that. But we see that even the things that are founded in religion, that are strong, that people have now accepted as a part of religion, are being questioned. They're being questioned. They're being doubted. I think we pass those lessons. We pass those lessons. There are people, for example, you'll see among Shias who, for example, don't understand why we cry for Imam Hussein. I mean, really, you are a Shia and you don't know why we cry for Imam Hussein? Why we mourn for Imam Hussein? Why we have the ceremony for his mourning and, making it grand? Really, a lot of times, we need to really think that, really, have we learned this lesson? I think we should have learned this lesson and passed it long time ago. This should be set in stone in our hearts. It should be so clear. I mean, this is Imam Hussein. This is what the deen was based on. How much more did Rasulullah had to say about this? How much more did all the Imams after Imam Hussein had to say about this? And had to practice it themselves. There is no doubt about it. So here, why are these doubts being raised? Oh, for example, the idea of marja'iyat and taqleed. I think, this is something that has been clarified. It's been argued, debated, and understood, and everyone has accepted it and acknowledged it. And still we see people saying, no, I don't make taqleed. Why? Why are we learning this lesson again? Yeah, this was the debate of taqleed happened over 1,000 years ago. After the ghaibat of the Imam, the issue happened, it was debated, and it was decided. And for 1,000 years, there was no problems. And now you see new things are coming up here. So a lot of these things, unfortunately, now we have to really go down and truly spread the knowledge. There are many reasons and factors for it, and that's not my speech, and obviously we are not here to discuss that. Why did it happen? What are the factors behind this? There are factors that you can actually analyze and deduct and say, wow, these are the factors that it might happen. But one of those that I mentioned yesterday in the speech that we gained from the Prophet's life and his teachings, and how, for example, he wanted to make sure that everyone who is a follower learns, becomes educated, and knows the basic principles of Islam in a complete and wholesome and holy and solid way. Why? Because when doubts are raised about it, when questions are raised about it, then people should defend that, not the scholars. For example, if there's a scholar and I'm not a scholar, I'm just a student, right? Let's say, for every issue, if he asks, the marja, Ayatollah so-and-so, how do we make wudu? I don't think the marja needs to explain that to us. I think we can explain it to each other. Right? These are things that we should know, that all of us should know, that we can teach each other and, inform each other of this. You see, it's very important for us to now here learn how important learning of knowledge is for all of us. That we all are well read, that we all understand the basic precepts of Islam really good. Because this is what makes religion weak. This is what makes Islam weak. When people don't understand the basics and they have to question it over and over again. Because when those questions are raised, then those questions become big. It creates doubts in the minds of the people. It even goes to simple things. For example, when we know of Ahlul Bayt, what knowledge do you have of Ahlul Bayt? Do you think that they are kind? Yes. Do you think that they're generous? Do you think they're forgiving? Do you think they're compassionate? Do you think they're loving? Do you really think that they love you? You can say it. Yes, very good. Confidence, right? Ahlul Bayt love you. There is no doubt about that. Would they do wrong to others? Would they do injustice to anyone? Would they play a prank on people? No, they won't. So here's the thing, right? And these are like basic things. If we believe in that, if that is what our mind and our heart has come to understand, and we proved it to ourselves, then why is it that when, prank emails come and says, if you don't pass it on to 5 other people, then Bibi Fatima is going to curse you? And people actually do, let's do it unless she decides to do that, for a faint chance that she might come and curse us, let's do this. Really, this is where we can see, are we truly believing in it or not? If little things like this can shake us and make us believe that she might do it, how can you even imagine that from her? Or from any of Ahlul Bayt, that they would do such a thing? But these are things that show and reveal the faith and the understanding that we have in Ahlul Bayt. And this is why it's so important that we really make ourselves strong in understanding, believe in it, and have conviction in it before we go forward. And that's why you see that here Rasulullah knew that in order for us to spread the message of Islam, there needs to be enough people who have an understanding, who do believe, and who have a conviction, who can tell others, who can explain to others. If everyone that became a Muslim had to come to Rasulullah to learn things, then imagine Rasulullah would have no time. It would be logically impossible for Rasulullah to teach everyone. It would be really logically impossible, logistically impossible, right? That he can teach each and every person. So there has to be a hierarchy that is made of people who are learned, who will teach other people that you have a trust in. This is why, my friends, all of us need to be that learned that it can be counted on each and every one of us, that when a new person comes in and becomes a Muslim, that he can be given in the care of anyone, in the guidance of anyone, and they will be able to teach him Islam. This is why this learning, this group that's here and slowly growing is so important. That's what Rasulullah taught us in his method. First, building that critical mass, teaching them, learning, and so that when they learn, they will be the teachers for others. And that Rasulullah doesn't have to go everywhere to meet every new Muslim to tell him how to do things. This is where you see this movement that we are in comes into play from the example of Rasulullah. Salawat ala Muhammad wa alihi. So that's why you see one mistake that happened by a Muslim at that time. It doesn't mean that the group of Muslims that comes in first are going to be perfect. Right? There are some people who are over emotional. Some people, who are overzealous. Want to get things out there, and they're trying to teach the Prophet how to do it faster, there are some people like that. Hey, let's just go out there and do things, right? Rasulullah saying no and no and no, and he's telling everyone, don't tell anyone, don't do anything to attract attention. But one person by the name of Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, who was one of the early Muslims, made the mistake of attacking a person who made fun of Muslims. He attacked the person, injured him, the news came out, and then after that the Prophet had to now make a complete ban on everyone. He says, no more. It's a mistake that was done, but because of this mistake, now we have to change our methodology. So he made a ban and told everyone, no more proselytization, no more propagation, no more trying to talk to others now. Because why? You know what? Now we are getting attention. Now it's too early for attention. We have to wait for Allah to decide when is the right time to move forward. Allah will give us the sign for that. So now after that there was a house that was appointed by the name of Darul Arqam. It was the house of Arqam, one of the companions. And that house was appointed the first Islamic center in Islam. In Makkah, next to Safa, next to Mount Safa, Safa and Marwa, next to it, on the east side of it. Prophet said, this is the place, if you all want to meet me, you can meet me here. Do not meet me at my house, I will not come to your house. We only meet at this house from now on. So now everyone used to come to that house to learn, to educate themselves, and to listen to the Prophet, and to ask questions from the Prophet, and to meet each other, and to pray. Darul Arqam was the first house. This went on for 6 months. After 6 months, now 3 years after the first revelation had come, 3 years has passed. Now at this point, when there were 134 Muslims in all, 134 Muslims in all, and when there was this critical mass of people, now the first order, the order to openly declare Islam to the people, to the general masses, came down. 3 years later. And there we see it's in Suratul Hajj, the 15th chapter. If you read that 15th chapter, ayat number 94 and 95 of that chapter, we see that Allah now gives this order to the Prophet. He says, Fasda bima tu'mar. He says, Fasda means to open, to declare, to pronounce. Open it up. Open up the secret. Meaning, just let it out. He says, openly declare bima tu'mar, what you have been commanded to do. Now is the time for you to declare it. He's revealing this order. Fasda bima tu'mar wa a'rid anil mushrikeen. And turn aside from the mushrikeen. Is it mushrik? That until now you were caring about, in the sense of that what they'll think, this and that. Now don't worry. Now go ahead. Openly say what you have to say. Openly say it. Declare it. After now you are in a position that you have people that when questions and doubts and comments are going to come from left and right, you have people who are going to defend Allah's deen, and who are going to explain to people, and who are going to describe to people what this means. So you see, the first time that this came out, and then he says, Inna kafaynaka mustahdiyin. Then Allah makes a promise to the Prophet, and he tells them of what's going to happen. So the first thing that will happen is that people are not going to come and beat you up. Trust me, they're not going to beat you up, Ya Rasulullah. The first thing they're going to do is that they're going to make fun of you. Istihza means to make fun, to make a joke about someone, to laugh at someone. That's what it means. He says to the Prophet, he promises him. He says, Prophet, I promise you that Allah is going to protect you. Allah is going to defend you against those who are going to make fun of you. So this is a forewarning that people will make jokes about you, ridicule you, make fun of you, and a promise that Allah is going to protect you. So this is the first ayah that came out in order to give the order to the Prophet to make the announcement. And then right away, Allah then sends the method. Okay, now I told you how to do it openly. Here's how you do it. So how do you do it? Then the next ayat came out. The next ayat came out, and it says, وَأَنذِرْ أَشِيرَتَكَ الْأَقْرَبِينَ. He says, the first way, Rasulullah, to do it is not to go out to the random neighbors and the people of Makkah and all these things and do it there. No, the first place for you to begin your propagation, to begin your tabligh, to invite people to Islam is by going to your relatives, to your family. Tabligh and dawah starts in the family. And that's how Allah told Rasulullah, you are the Rasul for all the people, but it starts from your family. It starts there. So that everyone gets the message also, that when you want to do tabligh, first you start with your family. And that's where you see it led to the event of Dawat Dhul Ashira. the invitation of the Prophet to the relatives. And you hear about this often, so I'm not going to go into detail regarding this, because most of you have heard about what happens, this and that. This is, like a usual frequent majlis topic, right? So now what happened, when we see this, we see it in a more prophetic light. In Allah giving this message, He's saying, listen, start with your family. Yes, declare openly. Say it to everyone, but start with your family. Rasulullah says, okay, let's start with the family. So he comes and he tells Ali that go. Allah has ordered me to invite the family and give them the message, so you go and invite the people. You go and invite the people, invite the relatives. So Bani Hashim, all of them are invited. Imam Ali goes there and invites them. And Rasulullah also gives him a shopping list. Right? He says, while you're at it, right, why don't you get these 3 things, right? He says, I need a leg of a lamb, right, leg of a lamb, and I need some milk, and I need one sa'a, means like 3 kilograms of wheat. So that's brought to him, 3 kilograms of wheat, a leg of a lamb, and and obviously in those days the lambs were organic, right? So they're small. Those days, don't get the idea of the lambs nowadays, right? Fed with chemicals and all that, it's the big old thing, genetically modified animals nowadays. No, those were organic sheep and lambs, so there are little old things over there, A lamb means like 2 people eat from it, And so what happened is that he says, get a leg of a lamb, a milk, a little bit of milk, and 3 kilos of wheat. So as the 3 kilos of wheat comes, he has to make them bread from that. And bread is made, how much 3 kilos is. So the bread is made, lamb is there, milk is there, and now all the people come in. They're like, it says 40 grown-up men. 40 grown-up men are there, right? Now, since, and now for any invitation that used to happen, it's not like nowadays, right? In those days, when you were invited somewhere, right, then you make yourself hungry before you go, right? Nowadays, when you're invited, you eat something beforehand, so it looks bad eating a lot in front of people. So, that's how you get ready, Those egos are also in the way. There, they were it was open. Hey, whatever, I'm here, and this was the way it was. So they became hungry and came there, and they saw the food on the table, and they're expecting, appetizers, right? And main entree is coming, right? So they're waiting there, and so Rasulullah, he puts his hand on the food, over the food, and then he invites the people to eat it. And they all start eating from it. They all start taking their things, taking things. Everyone starts taking, and at the end the Prophet takes it, and they all start eating it. Now, as he said that, he says, eat with this saying. He says, Bismillah wa kul, wa kulu. So, Bismillah, eat. He said, Bismillah. Now, a lot of those people who were there became upset. But because they were hungry, they didn't say anything. All right, they're like, okay, let's go with the food, Food's more important right now. So they went with the food. They didn't say anything against what he said. They didn't oppose that, so they went ahead with it, right? They ate. Prophet ate at the end, and as everyone ate, now obviously everyone noticed the fact that there was a little bit of food here, and everyone ate, and they're all full, and the Prophet also ate to his fill, and still the food is left on the table. You see that, right? So right away, Abu Lahab, obviously the first one to comment on things, right away he made a comment. He says this looks like magic. Right? He made this comment, just random comment, just to make a joke so everyone can laugh. Oh, this looks like magic, So as he said that, then, so what else everyone's now expecting? Okay, what else? We ate now, So the Prophet said, thank you for coming, and you all may go. Okay, we were invited, we didn't say anything, nothing like that. So they went. They went out. Right? They left. They didn't know what they were invited for, food. Okay, they ate food and that's it. They left. Now, obviously, Imam Ali, asked the Prophet, so, Ya Rasulullah, you invited them here to give them the message. Why didn't you give them the message? So Prophet said, because you see, the issue of magic was raised. I did not want to give the message of Allah in a gathering where the issue of magic is raised. That's why he let them go. So I want to give it in a time when nonsense is not being spoken of. This is really important for us to understand. Really important for us to understand this, my friends, how important this is. He's giving a principle here that if you want to introduce Islam and give the message of Islam, don't give it in a place where nonsense is being spoken of. If nonsense is being spoken of there, then this message that is being given will have no effect. People will laugh it out. Really, a lot of times we see that people who don't know these Islamic principles, they go forward in trying to do dawah and think that this is Islamic work. We're getting a chance to do this, so let's do it. No, if you get a chance to do it, but in a place that is improper for it, don't do it there. Don't say it there. Really, that's not the right place to do it. That's why, for example, these people look for opportunities that really are not the place to give the message of Islam. I remember, that a group of imams, Muslim imams, were invited to dialogue and discuss. It's a great thing, Muslim imams coming together, dialoguing, discussing about great things. But then, it was on the Springer show, Jerry Springer. Now, you go and talk about Islam and fight, and Jerry Springer was making them fight with each other. You know how he does that, right? And they're like fighting with each other. These are like imams, local imams in Chicago, right? Fighting with each other on Jerry Springer's show. And they are all thinking, we're trying to do dawah here and bring Islam. Bro, you're not going to get any message across if you go on that show. Really, all you're doing is making a joke of Islam. And the Prophet, right at the beginning, is teaching us this lesson. Learn about it so that you don't think that every opportunity is an opportunity for dawah. No, it's not. You need to make the appropriate opportunity, the right environment, an environment where there is no nonsense. And then you give the message of Islam to the people. Then you declare it to the people and invite others to come. This is the proper way of doing it. And that's why you see the first day, because Abu Lahab spoke about magic, Rasulullah did not want to say anything at that point. Because now the gathering, the environment of the gathering has been tainted. It's been corrupted. Now to speak about Islam in this gathering will not have any effect on the people. So now the next day, Rasulullah invited the people again. The same thing happened. Imam Ali invited the people, they all came, and the same thing was served and the same thing happened. But this day, before Abu Lahab gets a chance to say anything, Rasulullah stood up and began his discourse to the people. Now as Rasulullah was saying this is what he said. First he, got testimony from them. Really important in how to carry on a dialogue or give a message. First you need to get a testimony from them. And that's what he did. Tell me. He said, I will ask you a question. Have I ever been someone who misleads people, misguides them, lies or deceives? They all said, never. We have never seen you lie. And all said that. Never seen you lie, never seen you deceive. He says, have I ever done wrong to this family? And they said, no, you were always good to this family. You always worked in the interest of this family. He told to the Bani Hashim. He said, all right. Then now I want to show you something and give you something that is for your benefit. And that is going to help you here in this world and in the hereafter. And it's going to make you happy. It's going to make you go through this. And all the promises of what you're going to get. To hype it up. Second thing, hype up the fact that this is a real promise. This is not a fake promise. This is not bait and switch. This is a real deal promise that Allah is making, that if you accept this right now, there is everlasting happiness and salvation for you. And with confidence, Prophet gave that pitch, and then after that he said that I have been sent to you as a messenger from God, from Allah. Allah has sent me as a messenger to you to give you the message of this salvation, of this everlasting happiness for your barakat. And if any one of you joins me right now, if you become a part of me right now, if you become a Muslim right now and submit to me right now and accept me as the messenger of Allah, I promise you, you will be my successor. You will be my representative. You will be my heir, who is going to fulfill my promises after me. Now, the audience was completely quiet. No one spoke. Now, obviously, this was, it's something you don't hear every day, right? It's like, for these people especially, they were like completely baffled. They didn't know what was going on here. What does this mean? What's the idea behind it? So obviously, you can't blame them, for not answering. They didn't know, right? Really, they were caught off guard. And even though that they were, they knew the Prophet is a very special person. They all knew, because this is family now. They all know that amongst them, they all have heard the stories. They know the reality. They know how much Abdul Muttalib loved him. They know his special traits. They all know these things. But to hear that he is being sent by God, that was something that's strange, right? So at that moment, there was no answer. So Imam Ali at that point was 13 years old. He was 13 years old at that moment. So he stood up and says that I will accept you. So as the Prophet, heard that, he said to Ali that, Ali, there are elders here. Let's give them a chance. Let's give them a chance to do it. Right? And he made the offer again. Who wants to be my wazir and this and that? And no one else said it. And Imam Ali and again said, I'm here for you. I believe in you. And then Rasulullah repeated a third time, and this time, again, no answer. Everyone was quiet. Imam Ali said that I will do it. Well, he says, if that's the case, Ali, then come here. He brought Ali close to him. He brought Ali close to him and says, then so it is. You will be my successor. You will be my heir. You will be the one who will fulfill my promises and my trusts. He hugged Imam Ali. He asked Imam Ali to open his mouth. And as Imam Ali opened his mouth, Rasulullah put his saliva in the mouth of Imam Ali. And after that, the rest of the people looked at that. They were just looking at what's going on. This is like everything unfolding in front of them. And everyone was like in a state of shock. And the first one to speak was Abu Lahab, who started laughing. Who started to laugh and said, and he made a joke right away. Made a joke. He says, and obviously he didn't call him Prophet, he called him by his name. He says, is that how you treat people who are going to follow you? You spit in their mouth? That's the comment that he made to him. And everyone started laughing. And then after that, Abu Lahab made his famous statement to Abu Talib and said to him that, hey, listen, Abu Talib, so you are going to be the follower of your own son. Go, congratulations. So with that, everyone left. Prophet stayed there. Imam Ali stayed there. Everyone left. Now the declaration has been made. My friends, 2 more minutes. Declaration has been made. I want you to understand this one thing from here. Now, when you say that we need to work with our families, that we need to work on our families, what does that mean? Here's a misconception that has to be erased in our minds. Hear this very carefully, because this is an excuse that many people bring for not doing things that Allah wants them to do. The idea of working first amongst ourselves is the right idea, but the question is, how much do you work on yourself? How much do you work on yourself or amongst yourselves? To what extent do you do it? And this is where people use this excuse. Until we become like Salman and Abu Zar, all of us, we cannot go out and do anything. Right? This is the idea that people have. Allah, when He told the Prophet, He didn't say, go and train them, go and make them Muslims, go and make them mu'min. All Allah says is, warn your people first, then go and warn others. In other words, our job with our people is to warn them. Once you warn them, now it's time for you to go out and work. You don't dwell on them until, for example, you go through your whole life not doing anything. A lot of people use this as an excuse for not doing tabligh or dawah or going anything outside of themselves. They say, first we have to work on our people and make them, all of them, Salman and Abu Zar. That's never going to happen. That never did happen. This is an excuse that Shaitan put in our mind so that we don't work. That's the reason when Rasulullah came and invited his relatives, the next day he went and invited the people. He didn't even wait more than one day. That's it. I told the people, it's up to them, and they will come. Later, they will come. A lot of them of Bani Hashim were the ones who supported the Prophet. They will come, but you don't wait around for that. Allah's work has to go on. And that's why the next day, He did something that He has never done before. And we'll go through that tomorrow. Alright, so that we have times to think. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, give us the tawfiq and the blessing to be on the right path, the wisdom to understand His guidance, hasten the reappearance of our Imam, make us His helper when He comes. Wa akhiru da'wana an alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala All right, any questions? This one.